Looking like Parliament was very busy yesterday, because not only did they pass this for the teachers, they also passed the name for David Kimaiyo, who's expected to be our first Inspector General of Police. But details on that as we take a look at the other stories. Let's also take a look at that on the front page. The Jubilee leaders in crisis talks ahead of the deadline. Remember, they'd asked for an extension of time from the Registrar of Parties, which was handed to them. They had planned for a rally, or rather UDF had called for a rally in Nyeri today. That has since been cancelled, and of course the leader of UDF says he will carry on with the rally and he will address the rally. But of course the major rally that we're looking forward to is the one in Tononoka grounds in Mombasa, where the team could unveil its presidential flag bearer. Details of that story carry on page 6. Let's take a look at page 4. We've just highlighted this in our bulletin a short while ago. A murder most foul, as 5 children were killed under mysterious circumstances. Now this is what is bizarre about this incident. When we move to page 2 of the Standard, it says the bodies of the 5 were laid in their parents' bed in order of their ages. The youngest boy's body lay on the left side with a stab wound to the chest, while the rest didn't seem to have any physical injuries. Now, of course, neighbors talking about how the couple had been quarreling in the past couple of days. Police are now looking for both the husband and wife to be able to shed more light on what could have happened in this incident. We've also just talked about this in our bulletin. The court has rejected MRC's petition. Now, what I found interesting about the judgment they made yesterday is they said that the previous judgment that seemed to illegalize, so to speak, the MRC was misinterpreted. So read more details on that on page 2 of the Standard. So there's another one on page 4 talking about IEBC. Now, ever since the closing of the voter registration exercise on December 18th, the IEBC has been busy tallying the numbers, putting them together, and of course making it possible for us to be able to take a look at that voters register and make sure our details are in order. They're now saying the final tally stands at 14.3 million voters had registered when the exercise came to a close. That was on Tuesday this week. Now, they missed their 18 million mark by just 4 million. Of course, they said they will not extend the registration deadline, following calls from a section of politicians and the civil society saying the 30 days is enough. They have a tight deadline to adhere to if they are to deliver credible elections by March 4th, 2013. Now, this is what was interesting, and we were discussing this with Martin in the course of the week. When, we'd raised concerns about the threshold, the number of people who will be voting for leaders that will obviously lead the entire population. Now, in response to this, the Hassan-led commission maintains that there is no threshold that is required by law for the country to go to the polls. So even though the numbers are not quite half of the population, this should be fine. All right, so when we take a look at that, they say that it is only during a referendum where 60% of eligible voters must be on the roll. But they say 14.3 million people is enough for them to be able to carry out the election and to carry it out credibly. My belief, however, is a little different. I think we should have a little bit more than that of the population deciding the fate of many. What happens to the close to 20 million people, if not more, who didn't participate in choosing the leaders of the country? Perhaps we might pay attention to that the next time we have a voter registration exercise. Let's move to page 7 now. And there's a new alliance in town. Some would say this would be season 3 or season 4 or season 5 of the whole alliance saga that's taking place in the country at the moment. Wamalwa now joins another alliance despite the fact that he belongs to the Pambazuko alliance already. Of course, he's teamed up with the presidential aspirants Peter Kenneth and Raphael Tuju. There's a picture there of the 3 big boys of that alliance. And of course, they're saying that they are joined by nothing else but higher ideals, which is service to the country. They say they have come together to bring a third force, and it's not about a horse race. If you recall Peter Kenneth yesterday saying even Jesus rode on a donkey, so obviously trying to look humble. Now, speaking to journalists in Nairobi, according to this article here, they said they would they declined to state how they would pick their presidential flag bearer and who indeed that person would be, but they said they would embark on a joint presidential campaign. So of course we wait to see what happens there. It seems like it's the era of political alliances, so let's wait and see how that happens. Now, as we predicted yesterday, remember we had our discussion with Maggie Ireri from Ipsos Sign of It, and we're talking about this Nairobi County Sign of It poll that was done by the Standard Group and Sign of It. And we always said that this is what happens when the person who is least favorable in the ratings will always come out and dismiss the poll. And that is exactly what has happened. True to form, on page 8, Evans Kidero, one of the candidates for the Nairobi County Governor's seat, has dismissed that poll, and he's saying, he's reacting to the polls saying that they are misleading. Yes, the polls rate him third in the Nairobi County Governor race. He says this is misleading. Now, this is what he has to say. If you recall, the polls tally put ODM at 43%, making it the most popular party in Nairobi County. The Accord Alliance at 52%, making it the most favorable alliance in the county of Nairobi, saying if you add up the numbers for ODM and the Accord candidates, then he says something's missing. Does it suggest that Nairobians love the ODM Accord Alliance but are unwilling to elect their aspiring governor? Well, we should point out that Margaret Wanjiru is also within that alliance, and so perhaps there might be something to it there. Of course, addressing the press yesterday, dismissing that recent poll, saying it's not possible that overnight the assistant minister would be ahead of the rest who have been in the field longer. All right, so we wait to see details on that story as it unfolds, and to perhaps have another poll and see how that fares. All right, let's move now to page 11 of the Standard. Parliament paving the way for the new Inspector General. Very, very busy yesterday, as I was saying earlier, picking the new Inspector General. These were the names, or rather this was the name that was forwarded to parliamentarians by the President and by the Prime Minister, and it looks like he is on his way. Looks like he's on his way to becoming the first Inspector General of the country. All we're waiting for now is the President to actually ratify that decision, and he has to do that within 7 days. A look there at his credentials in the various ministries he served in as Senior Deputy Secretary in the Ministry of National Heritage and Culture for 1 year. That's between 2008 and 2009. I'd like us to move to the back page of the Standard. I will leave the pulse to Brenda, who will be with us shortly. By the way, Sunrise Entertainment returns today, so Brenda will be taking a look at the pulse and all the stuff that's happening in the world of entertainment. But right now, on the back page of the Standard, the fever pitch, it promises to be a great battle. Manchester United, of course, they're with Real Madrid, and that puts Cristiano Ronaldo back to his former team, and apparently this Manchester United is also a team that Jose Mourinho would very much love to coach. So what will happen with that? Take a look at that on page 71 of the fever pitch of the Standard this morning. I'd like us to move now to the Nation, the Daily Nation, for today. This has a different take on what's happening in the saga that is the alliances in this country at the moment. Now, the Daily Nation is reporting that the Jubilee is planning its polls without Mudavadi. Remember that Nyeri poll, that Nyeri rally that was scheduled for today has been cancelled. UDF insists that it is still on, but according to this article, if we can take a front page of the Daily Nation today, it seems like, and I like this, the Jubilee coalition seems to have breathed its last after Uhuru Kenyatta's TNA and William Ruto's URP announced that they would have a delegates conference on Sunday to nominate their presidential candidate, to which apparently UDF Musalia Mudavadi's party has not been invited. So TNA and URP pulling out of that Nyeri rally today. Is this the end of the Jubilee Alliance as we know it? We'll wait to find out. Also they're the third force, Wamalwa, in this new alliance pact with Kenneth and Tuju. Front page of the Daily Nation as well. 5 children found dead in city slum. Already highlighted that story, this bizarre case of the killings. I mean, and this has been happening quite a bit this year, don't you think? A lot of spouses killing their partners, a lot of husbands and wives killing their children. So it just raises some concerns as to what is happening in the country at the moment. Let's take a look at other stories making headlines. Front page of, or rather page 3 of the Nation. Voters to inspect the list in 2013 as IEBC seeks more powers. Of course, take a look at that story. There's a great map there, the voter registration map as of 18th December 2012. Read more details on that, on the timelines that are now taking place. all the way up until March 4th. What is expected of the IEBC? Still on matters of voter registration, page 5 of the Daily Nation is also talking about the polls team that is now listing 14.3 million voters, and you will get a chance to inspect that register and make sure all your details are correct. Right, let's move on to other stories there taking place. There's an interesting one here on page 6. The father of Assistant Minister Wavinya Ndeti, who's at the Mater Hospital in Nairobi after he was shot by gangsters at his home in Athi River yesterday. And of course, some details there that are taking place right there. Also on page 6 there's a story of Wamalwa, Tuju and Kenneth in their new pact. Just what is happening there, what are their plans for the country, how will they field a presidential candidate, will they do it jointly, will they agree to do that with one person? Let's wait and see what happens. Let's move to another page, business news on page 8. Safaricom loses the tribunal option in M-Shwari suit. They had said that the High Court of Kenya had no jurisdiction and that this should be taken to the industrial court. Well, the judge dismissed that move, but however said that the High Court still has overall jurisdiction and is best suited to deal with the matter. However, they said that Safaricom can continue to be able to do that. Let's take a look at other news happening on the scene. TSC blacklist diplomas from 4 universities. There are 4 universities are on the spot for operating diplomas that are not recognized by the teacher's employer, effectively locking them out of government jobs. All right, 60 billion shillings is a payout for public servants. Warning has been sounded against creation of multiple outfits at the expense of effective manageable unions. So more details of that story there as well. I'd like to move to the back page now, and the Treasury is set to borrow 10.8 billion shillings for projects. That's on the back page of the Nation today. The Treasury is to borrow 10.8 shillings for those projects. 21.7 billion is the total amount allocated to the Constituency Development Fund. All right, and now I'm joined by Martin Mutua, who's our editor here at The Standard, to take a look at some of those details. How are you today, this end of the world day?
Oh, wonderful. Great, great. Are you guys geared up for Christmas?
Yes, we are. We are. In fact, we're taking a break today to be able to go and celebrate Christmas a little bit.
So wonderful. I hope it all goes well.
Yes,
obviously. You guys have been doing a wonderful job here. Everybody here is just wonderful.
Thank you. It's the end of the world today. Do you believe that? Apparently. 21st day of December 2012. There's this great planet that's supposed to collide with Earth, and we're supposed to be totally annihilated. Before we get into the papers, what would you do if today was your last day on Earth?
No, they shouldn't. They should not bring those jokes right now.
Now is not the time.
We haven't even had Christmas. Let us have Christmas. Let's celebrate Christmas.
Or had an election.
Whoever wants to, an election can wait, but Christmas, let's celebrate Christmas.
I like that. Christmas more important than an election.
Of course, elections come and go, but Christmas, the time guys get together and then have fun and then enjoy themselves. I mean, it's something worth looking forward to.
Absolutely. After a long year's work.
Exactly.
Now, perhaps some people who would be thinking today had better be the end of the world would be the Jubilee Alliance members.
Yeah. You can say that again.
Okay, so a rally today called by UDF cancelled. And the details of that are on the front page of the Standard. But also, what I find interesting is that the front page of the Daily Nation is talking about the fact that they're planning to have their delegates conference on Sunday, with or without Musalia Mudavadi.
That has been the situation, because this indecisiveness is also hurting them, because the fact that they're squabbling back and forth, and their opponents or their rivals are looking more like they are very clean and there are no squabbles in there. It's hurting them very badly. So the sooner they make a decision, the better for them. Like yesterday, there's been a lot of movement within that Jubilee coalition. First, there was we were informed there was a rally for the UDF in Nyeri. Then the TNA people came and cancelled it. Then back, the UDF people came back again and said, no, the rally is still on. So back and forth, it shows that there's something seriously wrong, and they're disagreeing in terms of how they're moving forward. So the rally in Nyeri is going on today with the UDF. Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto will not attend, and is sending some very mixed signals. And then now you'll have another one in Tononoka. So maybe the Tononoka one will make things more clearer, but even then, things are moving on in a very haphazard manner within that coalition, whereas on the other side, the guys look like they're on honeymoon, and that is that's not very good for Jubilee.
Yeah. Do you think should they be able to work this out, whichever way that is, with or without Musalia Mudavadi, or whoever decides to go forward, say come Sunday at the Tononoka rally that we're expecting in Mombasa? Do you think they have enough time to build the reputation that they seem to have lost, you know, over the last few weeks with all of this back and forth?
Yeah, so long as they get their act together and for sure put things clear, then it's going to be, then they can get down to the business of campaigning as a team. But as long as they're still moving back and forth, then it's going to be a problem. But they have until Monday, because I think Tuesday is Christmas, so they had asked for an extension from the registrar of political parties so that they can be able to agree, and then they bring in the proper pre-election pact that they're supposed to deposit with the registrar. So by Monday, all these things ought to have ended, all this drama. So we'll know whether Musalia Mudavadi is going on his own or he's within still the Jubilee coalition.
Do you think the damage is irreparable, though, for someone like Musalia Mudavadi? It's increasingly looking like he will go it alone. Do you think the damage to his reputation, particularly for this election, is irreparable? Is it beyond repair?
Well, it's not beyond repair, because at least he has consistently made this remark that he's going to be at the ballot. His allies have also stated as much. And if, like we've always said, if he was to play a second fiddle in Jubilee coalition, then that might pose some problems for him. He has insisted that he had a gentleman agreement with Uhuru Kenyatta, but that seems to have backfired. So the fact that it's not looking like Uhuru Kenyatta is going to back down for him, then the only option now he has is to move it alone. And if he has to be at the ballot, and whatever position he comes, then he can be able to negotiate either with the people who are going to be on the runoff, or he will make a decision for himself. But I believe that going to Jubilee coalition at this point in time, I don't think for him is a major option that he's pursuing, because those fellows have already made up their minds.
Yes. And the voters, have they already made up their minds after watching this whole saga?
The voters are, for their coalition, they're also confused. When you pull your supporters back and forth, and you're not offering proper direction, then that tends to confuse them, and they lose trust in you. So this is politics. When somebody else happens to undertake a different position, the other one capitalizes on that misery and gains the over you. So it's up to you to make up your mind what you want.
Okay. On page 4 is a story, and I think we'd raised this with you earlier in the week. IBC says now the total number stands at 14.3 million voters. And you remember when we were talking about how the fact that 14.3 million voters is not even half of the population of this country, and they are being allowed to decide the fate of 40 million Kenyans. Hassan yesterday said, or rather the commission said, that there was no threshold required by law, and that this number is enough. It's only in a referendum when we need at least 60% of the voters. Are you still concerned? I seriously have a problem with this. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks 14 million people deciding.
Let me shock you more. You'll even have a more bigger problem, because normally history has shown that not all the registered voters go to vote.
Oh, gosh.
So not all these 14.3 million
will go to vote.
Trust me, you'll have about maybe 11 million or 10 million who are going to vote. That has been the situation. So if you're shocked by this, the shocker is yet to come. So
not very good news for me this morning. I have such a problem with it. I don't know. Anyway,
I think the Kenyans have not woken up to the reality that they are the ones who are supposed to chart the destiny of their own country. But I think history of the precedent that we've had is what has eroded the confidence of the voters. When every other time you go to the vote, either there are ethnic clashes,
Yes.
or there are these kind of problems that occur. So most of the people who are disinterested maybe in politics or on how the country is governed tend to lose confidence, and they definitely don't even care. But if we would have been having a smooth election every other time without any problems occurring, believe you me, that would have built confidence in the minds and of the people. So this particular election could set a precedent. If we go it very smoothly and don't have any issues, no people killed, nothing occurs, no violence, and there's a smooth transition, people will gain confidence and say, aha, look, if this can happen, then we can start coming in and also taking part in it.
All right.
So we have a chance this time round to be able to make history.
Okay, and of course to convince the voters so that for 2017,
yes,
you know, they can be a little more confident in the process. Yeah, you make a fair point. On page 7, there's the third force. What are your thoughts on that? Wamalwa, Peter Kenneth and Raphael Tuju announced their alliance yesterday. On page 7 of the Standard, they're promising that, you know, they're only having higher ideals for the country and that this is service to the country, and they are completely disputing this two-horse race idea that it is between CORD and the Jubilee Alliance. You know, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's up to them to make their mark in the political arena. Okay, these are not people you can wish away, especially when you're seeing the kind of confusion that is occurring left, right, and center. So if the continues to occur, there are people who will just decide that, well, I'll put my money on these other third force. So, well, they have a chance to also make a mark during the elections. But believe you me, you and I know that.
You don't sound so convinced. They have a chance to make a mark in this election.
Exactly.
Okay.
In terms of capitalizing on the confusion that is occurring on both sides, but if that continues, maybe these fellows would offer a chance to the people who are undecided on who they are going to vote, and that is also good for us. I mean, it's healthy for our politics. We don't want to always focus on people whom we've always known year in, year out. So they have, maybe they'll be making history in terms of what kind of constituent they're going to capitalize on.
Let's cast our eye to 2017 for a moment with this three in mind. I'd just like to pick your mind a little bit as to who you think of these three, Peter Kenneth, Eugene Wamalwa and Raphael Tuju, because I've heard it said that this is a test run, especially for someone like Peter Kenneth. He's still young, you know, he's still got it. But of course, you know, just like Kibaki did, he tried it over and over again until he finally got it third time around. What do you see in your crystal ball for 2017 for either of these three? Who do you think will be the strongest candidate?
I'll put my money on Peter Kenneth, that's for sure. He has made a mark in terms of, you can put his track record, you can follow it. You can say this is a person whom, if I entrust my leadership with him, for sure he's going to deliver. I have no doubt in my mind, if Peter Kenneth is given even the leadership of this country, he can be able to manage it. The irony and the problem is that we are too ethnic based, and our politics this time round are being decided on that platform, and it's sort of our leaders who are already on the race have already politicized the entire, or ethnicized the entire situation. So we cannot be able to, people don't think clearly. But for me, I think this offers Peter Kenneth a chance to be able to get in, to make inroads, and believe you me, if he stays on that trend, 2017, I think he will give a run for his money for people who are going to be vying, and I can bank on him.
Okay, all right, okay, definitely. So let's hope that this, you know, works out as a test run for him in the run-up to that.
And I would encourage him. I mean, let him be on the ballot, because there's nothing to lose for him. I mean, in terms of entering and showing the people, hey, here I am, and I'm offering my candidature. Let him go all the hog, because he's definitely a person we have always entrusted in terms of how he has managed himself in terms of administrative issues and development matters. So he's a person you can entrust with leadership. So let him be on the ballot. I would encourage. And believe you me, there are those who believe in him, and they'll vote for him.
Yes, okay. Yesterday, when we talked about the Nairobi County poll, that was exclusively in the Standard, and like we said, the ones who are least favored in the poll will come out and say,
hey,
something wrong with the poll. I'm not the one at the top.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened yesterday. True to form. Just like we predicted here yesterday with you, Martin, Evans Kidero has come out and dismissed the poll completely. He says it is misleading. Now, this is what he has to say. He says ODM is the most favored party. The Quad Alliance is the most favored alliance within Nairobi County. You put those numbers together, and he finds it difficult why the aspiring governor within the ODM and the Quad Pact would be, you know, way down in the numbers. But Wanjiru is also in the same alliance. No?
And is in ODM as well.
And is in ODM as well. And he says they've been in this longer. You know, what are your thoughts to this? Do these politicians interpret the opinion polls as they should?
Did you expect Kidero or any other person to take this poll lying down?
Well, I hope they would at least say nothing and use the information.
Trust me, I believe, I'm just shocked that Jim Nambaru has not come out.
Right.
I'm sure he should be coming out to dismiss the same thing. But we did not, this poll was not conducted because we have an interest in terms of a favored candidate. I think the Standard Group just wanted to open up the eyes of the Nairobi people to the reality of what is happening. Believe you me, if similar polls were conducted in different counties, the voters or the residents in those areas will be shocked, because they might be having a preconceived idea that the person who should take this position is this particular candidate. But the reality is the opposite. So for sure, I can understand where Kidero is coming from. He has to dismiss the poll because he is in the race. He can't show his supporters that he has accepted defeat already, when even
No, there's an option, Martin. He can decide to say nothing about it.
A politician, you are looking for votes, and you want to, that will be conceding defeat even before the poll has taken off. So I think it's understandable that he needs to show for sure he's in the race, and he has to use whatever kind of communication to make. But believe you me, this is politics, and during campaigns even propaganda is allowed. Actually, propaganda is what moves an election. So the more propaganda there is, the better for the politicians who are moving, who are campaigning on the political arena. So you have not seen anything yet or heard, because the campaign period has not been announced by the IEBC.
Yes.
The moment that happens, the things you're going to hear, they will shock you if you are faint-hearted. So
clearly, politics would not be my cup of tea if I was a politician, because all the rhetoric that goes around, sometimes I just think, well, is it necessary to say something? But like you say, this is politics.
Yes.
And you have to keep saying something, be in the news, and you know, get more. And
so your people, so that you will remain relevant. Otherwise, you keep quiet, you'll be confined to the dustbin of history.
Okay, all right. Liking that. Okay. I don't know how much we can comment on this. You can advise me. The High Court delivered a ruling yesterday that they have pushed, you know, the switch over to digital TV until next year in January on the 11th, when they make their ruling. Just your thoughts on this. I think we've talked about this before, but I'd just like you to reiterate, has enough been done to inform the Kenyan public on the switch over to digital, why it is important, why we're doing it, and of course the global deadline is 2015. Of course we want to do it early, and you know.
Yep, when the last time it came up, you remember we pleaded with Justice Enola, although we hoped that he would not jail us.
Absolutely.
I hope we wouldn't also not, we are just commenting on what he's saying, but we are happy that he made that decision. Now I'm grateful that he did that, because for sure enough has not been done. What it was wrong for the PS information to go on his Twitter page or Facebook, whatever, to be able to communicate from there. Yet, whereas he has the platform together with his ministry and his minister as well, to educate Kenyans on what this digital migration is all about. Believe you me, 80 or 90% of Kenyans do not understand this business of digital migration. Believe you me, they might be talking from an elitist point of view up there. Maybe those people in the upper class area, they could understand. And believe me, I think even most of them don't. This is they have now a chance. If we have to do this by January, then they have a chance to start educating the Kenyans about it, because they have the resources,
Yes.
they have the machinery to do it,
Right.
they have, like the Ministry of Information has the budget to even carry out media campaigns in terms of all this, so that people can understand. You go about this digital migration, you will switch off almost 70 or 80% of Kenyans out of these broadcast media. So it's not in their interest that this happens. The information out there is not enough, and people do not understand this digital migration. It's up to them not to use the Twitter and Facebook, where my people in the village are not, they're using their small sets which they have always had. They do not understand the issue of digital migration.
The ones, that we buy them, during
Exactly.
Christmas.
Absolutely. How do you communicate to those ones on
Right,
Twitter?
yes.
You can do it on Twitter, yes, but also consider the other constituent of people who do not understand this kind of thing, so that they are able to be up to speed with what you want them to be.
Absolutely. Martin, thank you. It has been a great run when we've had you for Sunrise Live. For what, 2 weeks now that we've been at this.
Thank you so much.
The world hasn't ended yet.
Yeah.
I would have expected to hear stories of this from continents like Australia, obviously, where they're way ahead of us according to time, but we're still here.
Yes.
So have a good one.
It's a journey of 1,000 miles, but it's starting with one step. So
Yes.
let's move a step at a time.
Yes.
So there's absolutely nothing. Like you said last time, the sky is not going to fall.
No.
If that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So I think we are still on time. I think our priority now is the elections.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not digital migration.
Right.
We will be losing focus
Okay.
if we start pushing people towards a different direction. Let's finish with this business of
Yes.
elections.
And
we
then-
will migrate as
Okay,
they
we'll
want us to
migrate as we
migrate.
go. Martin, thank you very much. As always a pleasure to hear the opinions that you give. Never afraid to shy away from an opinion. That's what I love about having you on the show. We've been speaking to Martin Mutuan, our editor here at the Standard newspaper.